Nigeria Info.
And we're live on Health Thursday here on Nigeria Info 99.3. I'm Sheriff Quadry. You can watch us live on Facebook. We are also live on YouTube as well. Just search for Nigeria Info 99.3 and you'll be able to watch live. So if you're watching already, you know that my guest is already seated in the studio here. And we hope to have an educative session this morning for the less than an hour that we've got left on the show this morning. So you're welcome to Health Thursday. Every Thursday, this is what we do every Thursday. Today, we're looking at cervical cancer. The awareness month for cervical cancer is January, so we're going to talk about it. This is what, according to WHO International key facts, as of February of 2022, this is what we know of cervical cancer. It is the fourth most common cancer. Number fourth most common cancer among women globally, with an estimated 604,000 new cases and 342,000 deaths in 2020. Now, about 90% of the new cases and deaths worldwide in 2020 occurred in low and middle income countries. You can put Nigeria in there. So women living with HIV are 6 times more likely to develop cervical cancer compared to women without HIV. This is according to the WHO. Now, worldwide, cervical cancer is the fourth most frequent cancer in women, with an estimated number of these that I said earlier, according to WHO. Now, another World Cancer Day is just about 3 weeks away. Yep, February 4th, to be very precise. It is marked every February 4th. And we want to start with the cervical cancer awareness conversation this morning on Nigeria Info's Morning Crossfire. So according to World Health Organization, Africa records 1.1 million new cases of cancer. Generally, 1.1 million new cases of cancer, resulting in up to 700,000 deaths every year. Now, the Global Health Agency quoted its technical officer for non-communicable diseases, Dr. Mary Diwan, as insisting that, I quote now, every year Africa records around 1.1 million new cases of cancer, resulting in up to 700,000 deaths. Breast cancer, along with cervical cancer, prostate, liver, and colorectal cancers, account for almost half the new cases on the continent. WHO has said this. Now, statistics also reveal that 1 million people in Nigeria have cancer. Now, you must know that these statistics may be higher because most people don't present in hospital. But what we have right now is that 1 million people are living with cancer. And amongst them, almost 80,000 die due to lack of medical infrastructure, due to the issue of financial situation, the economic viability of these individuals, and unavailability of proper medical facilities in the country. I can go on and on and on and talk about the other numbers that we have. A 2021 report, for instance, from the HPV Center estimates that every year more than 12,000 Nigerian women are diagnosed with cervical cancer every year, more than 12,000. And almost 8,000 of them, out of the 12,000, 8,000 of them die from cervical cancer. That's how serious this conversation is. Now, while cervical cancer is the second most common female cancer in women aged between 15 and 44 years in Nigeria here, it is the second most common amongst women. Dr. Eben Adepitan is here. He's a consultant oncologist. He joins me live in the studio. Dr. Ajay, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, you heard the numbers. You see cancer patients regularly. What can you tell us about cervical cancer? What is cervical cancer?
Well, cervical cancer is the cancer of, it's one of the gynecological cancers, and is the topmost gynecological cancer that we have here. And the reason being that we are very low on screening and low on prevention. In developed climes, we have endometrial and ovarian cancers as most common. But in low income areas, which Africa and Nigeria is one of those such areas, cervical cancer is the most common gynecological cancer that we have. And as you well stated in the report, we have breast, which is the most common, then we have cervical cancer. But cervical cancer is the most common gynecological cancer that we have.
Where does it affect in the part in the women's? I mean, it's synonymous to women. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay. What part of body does it affect?
Now, when we talk about gynecological cancers, it talks about parts of the women's body that has to do with the reproduction from the reproductive path, tract starts from, and the gynecological tract, which starts from the vagina to the cervix to the endometrium and the ovary. These are considered as women pelvic organs, but the cervix itself is happens to be the most common of all of these organs put together.
What are the symptoms? How can a woman know that they have cancer? Let's start with symptoms, and we'll now talk about screening. How they can know.
Okay. Before we discuss symptoms, let's discuss the risk.
The risk attached to it.
The risk attached to it, so that you know if you're a high risk person or you're a low risk person.
I like that.
So if we're looking at the risk in terms of a risk, are you someone who has multiple sexual partners? Right? If you're someone who has multiple sexual partners and your partners have multiple sexual partners, it might now becomes something that is fanning out. You have somebody and the person has several other people. Now you're a high risk person. Now someone who has HIV, for example, is also a high risk person. And social behaviors like alcohol consumption and smoking, also increases your risk. Then if you are a kind of person who we have people today who visit commercial sex workers. Okay. Right? Okay. Now, and if you are a commercial sex worker, now that increases your risk. Now, if you look at all these risk stratifications that we have, now it's easier to look at those cluster of persons and now have to discuss symptoms. Now, the symptoms starts with, basically when a lady bleeds outside of her regular menstrual period, either spotting bleeding or torrential bleeding. Usually it starts with spots bleeding, there's usually discharge, vaginal discharge, which initially may not be foul smelling, plain vaginal discharge, then gradually gets foul smelling as the symptoms progresses. And you hear stories like, I just noticed this, it came after my period, I finished my regular period, I noticed I was bleeding. Or they tell you that after I met with my partner, I noticed that there were blood, there was some sort of bleeding on contact. Then those are the people who you ask that you need to screen, so that we rule out the fact that there is some kind of cancer pathology going on in that place. So basically, so you have vaginal bleeding and vaginal discharge. Those are the two main symptoms that women present with.
Indeed. Dr. Ajay, thank you for breaking that down. But let's you mentioned something earlier. Apologies, this my mic is you mentioned something earlier that really caught my attention, and that's and I also read about it just now, the exposure rate of someone who has HIV. How about if the person is on medication?
Now, HIV, what I want us to get from, the interplay of HIV with cervical cancer is in terms of his or her immunity. Okay. A lot of women and a lot of folks have the major causative agents that causes cervical cancer, which is the human papilloma virus, 16, 18, and there are several serotypes. I won't bore you with that, but there is 6, 11, 16, 18, 31, 33, and on and on and on. Now, this viral infection exists, can be in the host's body and is cleared about 18 months, right? So if someone gets infected, in about 18 to 20 months, the disease is cleared out of the host, of the person's, the host who has this virus. Now, with HIV, your immunity and your defense is low. So what the highly active retroviral agents does is try to boost your natural immunity to make it combative enough for all of these microorganisms and these agents. Now, with HIV and the person who is on medications. So we expect that the viral load will be low and his CD4 count will be appreciable. Now, that gives us some degree of comfort that you have some protection, right? But you cannot compare someone who is not HIV with someone who is HIV because of the status of the body immune and the defense, to combat these things. So by and large, with an HIV person, you still stand some degree of risk. In fact, cervical cancer is debatable, but is one of the HIV defining and HIV confirming cancers, that we have. So when we see someone who has cervical cancer, one of the investigations you need to check is to check the person's HIV status.
Ooh.
Yeah, and if a person is positive, then you need to check the viral load and the CD4 count.
Dr. J, let's quickly move on because I would like for us to interact, especially in this first hour, to get some calls in. I want to talk to you about screening. Very, very important. Where does screening come in? At what point can someone say, I should go and screen?
Now, everybody should screen, both the male and the female, because these viral agents that we talked about causes penile cancers in men, causes genital warts in men, causes oropharyngeal cancers in both sexes, male and female. So everybody needs to screen, and screening can start as early as 9.
Oh.
Yeah, 9 years of age.
For both male and female?
Yeah, for both male and female, but usually we do screening for females. What we advise, medically is to start your vaccination. Vaccination starts at between 9 and 12. You start vaccination 9 and 12, but screening by and large starts between 21 and 25, 26. And you do that yearly. I mean, there are various screening methods that are available. There's the pap smear, which is commonly available. There is the liquid cytology, that can be done. There's the HPV DNA that can also be done. Then there's the visual test. So ladies from 21 to 26 can start screening, and the screening can go up until about 50 years.
Oh,
yeah. You can.
How often now? How often?
You can
yearly.
You can,
or twice a year.
Now, depend on your risk stratification.
Okay.
Right. If you're someone who has a partner and you're not sure of the status of a partner, then you could do your screening every other year, every 2 years, every 3 years. Okay. You can do screening, and depending on what your results of your screening gives, then you could. That means that you need to see your gynecologist or you need to see your doctor, and so that we can start intervention very, very early.
Indeed. Dr. J, let's talk about vaccination you mentioned while you're speaking. Yeah. What is that about?
Now, the vaccination is just like we do the national program on immunization. Yeah. The vaccination is to give protection, for citizens against this infection. Now, the vaccination is done when a child, hasn't had that first sexual exposure. Yeah, it's best done then. That's what I said, between 9 and 12. Okay. You can start vaccines between 9 and 12, and there are areas.
Can you start earlier?
No, you can't start earlier. You can start earlier, but at least between 9 and 12. That by that time the child, either the girl or the girl child or the male child, has features suggestive of secondary sexual characteristics. No, so before that child has sexual debut, you need to have that child vaccinated. Now, in developed climes where the numbers have come down, the numbers of cervical cancers have come down, is because they place premium on vaccination. So they are vaccinated. Every child is vaccinated before sexual exposure, and it reduces the incidence of cervical cancer drastically and significantly. Now, you ask me, what of someone who is sexually exposed? Now, for someone who is sexually exposed, well, I would still say that for all it's worth, you should take the vaccine. Yeah. Then have a way of bringing down your risk of exposure. If it's going to be by behavioral change, if it's going to be by cultural change, if it's going to be by an attitudinal change, if it's a line of trade that you need to reverse, so that you bring down your risk.
Is it hereditary? We've talked about one of the major risk factors is having multiple sexual partners, or your partner has multiple sexual partners. But is it hereditary? Can a woman inherit it? Is it genetic?
There are cancers that are genetic. Cervical cancer, interestingly, has a causative agent that is translated through a behavioral pattern, uncontrolled sex. Now, it could run in families, but doesn't mean that it's genetic. Now, I'll give you a scenario.
Yes, please.
Now, you have a situation where I have a grandmother who runs a beer parlor, a very boisterous, buoyant beer parlor, and it's in the middle of the corner of town, and there's a brothel directly beside the beer parlor, now which I get my market, Mama gets her market from. And my mother, who grew up from there, and with the low socioeconomic situation, socioeconomic milieu around there, she was attracted to one of the big men that visits the brothel. Right. Now she gets that disease and she dies in her early 30s. She has a female daughter that Mama has to take care of through that same business. Now, unfortunately, the girl toes the same line with the mother. She has that cancer too. Now, we've seen that cancer has run through a generation to a second generation. It doesn't mean that it's genetic or it's familiar, but because of the social-cultural milieu that family has found herself, right? Now, you see it in mother and you see it in child. Another situation, you have a man who's a woodworker, he's a carpenter, for example, he works in the sawmill, inhales wood dust over time, no PPI, no nose mask, to protect the dust from inhaling the dust. Now, he has a lung cancer. Now, he has a son that the trade has, he's successfully brought up his children, and one of his children takes interest in that particular trade. Now, exposing himself to that same dust, he comes down with the same cancer. No, so it
doesn't mean it's genetic. It's just
it doesn't mean exposure, work hazard, exposures to those agents. That's what has made it run in family, but doesn't mean that it's genetic.
I want to talk to you about adults now. I said earlier that people that are already sexually active can still take it, right? Does it include both male and female?
Yes,
so they can still take it. But is it a guarantee that it's going to work?
Now, so it's not a guarantee that it's going to work because you have been exposed already. Right? Literature even says that it's not that the efficacy after sexual exposure is not 100%. So, I mean, they're not throwing their weight behind someone who's had sexual exposure. Now you're coming to taking the vaccine. But for someone who's not had any sexual exposure at all, I mean, when you take the vaccine, and even if you now have, of course, that's not the guarantee, to go through yourself around, but you live safely, right? Then the risk of your having the disease, it's reduced to barely zero.
Now, this vaccine, is it taken just once, or you have taken multiple times?
So the schedule of the vaccine, there is a start dose, then there's a dose you take, there's a second dose that comes at least within the next 2 months, then the one that you need to take within 6 months. So it's just 3 doses.
3 doses.
All right. And I think, for most private individuals, it costs about 60 to 80,000. But if you go to a government hospital, a few weeks ago, you ran a program on primary health.
That's right.
Right?
That's
so
right.
Those are where we had a functional primary health care system. Those are where those vaccines should be available for people, I mean, at a very minimal cost, even if it's not free.
Okay. All right. You know what? Let's take some calls in. We have about 2 more minutes left in this hour, this half hour first. Let's take a few calls, take some questions. Then we'll go on a break. After the break, we'll come back. Lagos 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and 012773993. I have a consultant oncologist in the studio here. Dr. Ajay is here. You can ask me the question concerning cervical cancer. If you got your questions via WhatsApp, feel free to let me know as well, and we'll take them. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Sheriff.
Yes, please.
Lucky Lola from Magboro.
Let's talk.
Yes, I really thank you for asking that our guest.
Go on, Lucky Lola. Go on. Ask your question.
I want to ask, can the vaccine, I hope it will put women into early menopause? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any side effect of the vaccine?
no side effects of the vaccine. And of course, I know that these misgivings and wrong impressions about when people talk about vaccines. It doesn't put women in early menopause, other than the fact that it stimulates the antibodies in you so that it protects you against the viral agent.
Indeed. Let's take another call. Do I have one here? Yeah, I do have another call here. Good morning to you. Morning.
Hello, sir.
Morning to you.
Yeah, this is Mr. Paul. I'm calling from Ikorodu.
We're listening to you. Go on.
I want to find out from the doctor. This cancer of a teen, is it curable?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Now, a very big question. It now depends on at what stage you're presenting. All right. Now, let me make an illustration with the Nigerian problem.
Okay.
Now, you ask at this stage if the Nigerian problem is curable. Yes, it is. It is, right? It depends on the right decisions that our leaders make. Now, when you notice some symptoms, if we place premium on our health in terms of screening, yearly medical examinations, and you choose. For example, I advise my clients to, instead of holding a birthday bash, go for a medical examination on your birthday. And you discover that some numbers may be out of place, then you go and see your doctor. There are important people that should be in your close network. You need a doctor as a network. In your network, you need a lawyer as a network. And in Nigerian situation, you need a police officer as part of your network. So you go and have a medical checkup on your birthday, spend money on yourself, right? Then you discover that some numbers may be out of range. Then you take your result, then you go and see your doctor. Now, they can nip it at the bud when you have, now there are early stages. Let me not bore you with the technicalities, right?
Doc, before we go into that, we need to take this break, yeah? When we come back, then you'll break things down for us more. Lagos, stay with us. We'll be back here in a moment.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back.
Liverpool are majestic. You can't coach against this.
City have to defend for 6 minutes. They do not want to attack this. Felon Mendy across into the penalty area, headed down by the Madrid players. Still Madrid hopping around City's penalty box. A chance could come for them. It's 1-1 on the night. It's 4-5 for Nagrigas. There it comes. It's a 2-2. They are back.
Incredible. Well, one of the great nights as a radio football commentator, certainly. Was special. Was special. You could sense it. I literally could sense a potential comeback, and it wasn't surprising it happened. But how I was still able to articulate my words after that goal came in, something magical. So one of those great nights.
Thanks, Alexander-Arnold! Liverpool are majestic. You can't coach against this.
I'm a sucker for Trent. If he wasn't a Liverpool player, I would wear a jersey with Trent at the back. That was special. It was a free kick from about 38, 40 yards against Chelsea, a team I somehow don't fancy. It was special, and I fell off the seat. It's a classic. I don't think any commentator has been able to do that.
Every day is a new experience for me here. And look, see how excited I was coming into this studio. It was like a kid in a candy shop. What I enjoy doing the most here, let me put it in my own words, is Dear Bumi, because it's relaxing, it's hilarious. And of course, I for the life of me, I would never miss doing programs with Sheriff in the morning. It's one of the best. That's what keeps me alive and going. I think the one that I would remember the most, believe you me, is the one I did with Made Kuti, Femi's son. Every time I looked at, every time I think of the young guy, I feel so inspired, because I'm always thinking of tomorrow. I'm youth driven. I'm not saying I'm a youth, but I'm youth driven. Oh, the best thing about being a radio show host is when people hold your hand in public, they pray for you, they send you messages and appreciate what you're doing. Because it's, apart from it being a big deal, it's a sacrifice. if you want to do this job well, it is a big, big sacrifice. I'm not known to be a liar. I'm somebody who, and the reason why I don't lie about certain things is I don't want to be caught out. Okay, so if I overslept, you hear me on radio saying, sorry I came late, I overslept. I don't want anybody telling me that this is what happened. You know, I'm very conscious of that. So I don't think I ever lied not to be on air. I'd have called ahead to say, because I'm a professional to the core, and you can ask those who work with me. If I can't make it, sometimes I'd call Sheriff in the morning and say, Sheriff, let me. I'm tired. If I'm tired, I'm tired, you know. So I don't think I've been caught out as such. I can't remember any time.
Where you are rejected, be accepted. Whatever was not working, I command them to work. Be blessed in the name of Jesus.
Take your place with God's children at Salvation Ministries Ikoyi from on the 23rd to 27th of January at the Villa Dome, 2/7 Martins Okunwala Close off Omo-Osage Street, opposite Chicken Republic, Awolowo Road, Ikoyi. Time 4:30 p.m. daily. For inquiries, call 0816-727-6383. Glory Reign 2023. God bless you as you come.
We all have that one friend that always hides everything from everyone else. Like my guy, Sheon, that got 1 gig free data when he downloaded my MTN NG app. Did he share the gist with us? No! But we found out, and even something he doesn't know, that we get up to 2 gig data if we recharge 500 naira or more on my MTN NG app with our debit card.
You don't mean it!
That's not all. We also get 10% extra on every airtime recharge made on my MTN NG app.
Wow!
Will we share the gist with him?
Yes.
That's correct. You get 1 gig free data when you download my MTN NG app. Up to 2 gig when you recharge 500 naira and above with your debit card on my MTN NG app. And 10% extra on every recharge made on the app. So what are you waiting for? Download my MTN NG app today to enjoy. Terms and conditions apply.
Guys, here he comes.
Guy, any gist today?
What are we doing today?
People of Nigeria don't talk them say na Asiwaju Bola Tinubu them want as president of Nigeria.
He do better work for Lagos State when he be governor. Till today, Lagos people still they enjoy from all the better things wey Jaburata for Lagos.
As it can't be so, make we all come out for election day and vote Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria.
Vote Senator Kashim Shettima as a vice president. Vote APC.
Who be the president we go vote? Na Bola Tinubu.
Some people say tech is the new crude oil, and others say tech is in the future. With ALX, tech is here and here to stay. ALX is your career accelerator, built to give you in-demand global tech skills and access to a community that provides lifelong learning, lifelong networks. Register on www.alxafrica.com as the programs are fully funded for a limited period. Unlock possibilities with ALX.
Moves must be made. My people just to work hard. Dreams and challenges motivate us. But sometimes, when the journey gets tiring, all we need is something to push our limits.
Reactor, ignite your energy. Bring out your inner champion. Reactor, reactor, ignite your energy. Bring out your inner champion. Reactor.
Reactor Energy Drink. What you need to push your limits.
Wahala, Reactor Energy, push your limits. No get tired. No way, Reactor Energy drink.
Reactor. Push your limits.
I know say everybody getting time, I don't go lose faith. As I dey hustle every day, I'm all I dey look face. Cause I know say one day I go make her. Yes, I know say one day I go blow. We move, we move, we move, we move, we move. We move, we move, we move, we move, we move. Yeah, yeah.
Turn that fear into victory. What are we doing today? We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We are back.
We're back on 99.3 Nigeria Info. This is Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
And we're back on Health Thursday here on the Morning Crossfire. 8:35 is the time. Dr. Ajay is here. Ekazon, oncologist, joining me on the show on Health Thursday. We're discussing cervical cancer. I'm Sheriff Quadry. If you have your questions, please line them up. If you can send them to me on WhatsApp, please do that. 0809 597 5805. We're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. If you got questions, go on there and go and drop your questions as well. After Dr. Ajay, conclude on what he started before the break, I will come straight to the telephone lines and other platforms to start taking your questions. All right. If you are in the diaspora and you like to chime in a little thoughts, you can call us Skype when the time is right. Skype ID is Nigeria Info FM. Dr. Ajay, before the break, we're hammering on some things that you wanted to highlight.
Yeah. So there are the early stages. Now the question was if it's curable. Now there are the early stages of cancer. Cancer doesn't just present at its full blown.
All of a sudden,
all of a sudden, with the symptoms, with the bleeding. There are early stages. Now, that's why emphasis is laid on screening. Emphasis is laid on yearly medical checks. You need to have a doctor that you see, a family physician that you see yearly or at specific durations, where you have your medical checks. I was talking about your birthday. Let your birthday be about yourself. Have a medical check. At that medical check, your doctor will be able to show you that there's something wrong at this stage and at a particular stage. Now, we're discussing cervical cancer. There's nothing wrong that you do a screening. If you're a woman in a reproductive age, you're sexually active, do a screening. Now, there are in situ stages of this disease. CIN 1, 2, 3, before it becomes a stage 1. Now, if this disease is picked as the in situ stage, the surgery is the option. You can do surgery. With the surgery, it removes that disease at the in situ stage, and you're cured. You're cured. You just go for follow up and for monitoring at the duration of the at the instance of your specialist, and you're cured. Now, there are a lot of people who are living with hypertension, and some die, of course, from the complications of hypertension, but there are people who are living with it. So to answer your question, yes, it's curable if you present early enough. However, I need to emphasize that at the late presentation stage, and 60 to 80% of our patients present at stage 3 and stage 4. Now, that's very, very poor, and there's little you can do as a specialist
at that time,
other than the fact that we need to palliatively, manage that patient till we get to the end of life care. And usually, most times, that's when a lot of people come to the hospital, when you can't manage the disease anymore. So we need to take care of our health, be conscious of our bodies, and listen to the language of our bodies.
Indeed. Dr. Ajay, let me come take some questions right now. I have them on live stream already. So I'm going to start with this one on YouTube. This person says, can a person with HPV in her DNA take the HPV vaccine?
Well, yes, you can take the HPV vaccine, but at that point, there's no guarantee that you may not come down with the disease. However, if you're listening to me, I said that there are in situ stages of the disease. So your regular screening, right, and your regular schedule with your oncologist will tell you at what point you need to take a decision. You need to take an action, on your disease.
Indeed. Now, we're going to open up the telephone lines before I go on with my questions. So we when you're calling, please turn off your radio so we don't get to repeat ourselves. That you should turn off your radio. It's very important that you do that, okay? You know the numbers, but if you don't, 012770993, that is 012771993, 012772993, and 012773993. A female only line is 01465 7190. That is 01465 7190 for the female callers, or just send me a message on WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is 0809 597 5805. That is 0809 597 5805 on WhatsApp. Again, we're just going to take a few calls before I ask my own question. Please make it short and straight to the point. I would appreciate that a lot. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
This is Sabine Bola from Magodo.
Welcome.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, madam. Go on, please. Madam Abimbola, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, go on. Go on. We can hear you now.
Okay. I just completed the dose for my 11-year-old daughter. But is it a lifetime thing, a one-time thing, or do they still need to take it later in life?
No, they don't need to. She doesn't need to be revaccinated if she's completed her dose of treatment.
Okay, so
of vaccines.
That's what's the vaccine for the lifetime.
Yes.
Right, this time. Okay. And another thing is, for an adult, after screening and you find out that you don't have you don't have cervical cancer, can you take the vaccine?
Well, there are several ways in which we can look at that. If you're not at risk, if you're not at high risk, right? It's advised that after 50 years, with 2 negative findings on screening, then you can stop screening, and I think it's same to stop the vaccines. However, if you know that you probably have a high risk quotient, and which could make you susceptible to the infection, why not go ahead and take it?
Okay, so it doesn't have age limit?
No.
Okay, and again, the vaccine, let's say you take last year, and then you're supposed to take another, let's say you take June last year, you're supposed to take another one June this year, and then you're not able to take it like in June, and you're maybe, can you still take it around December?
Well, yes, you can. You can take it around December, but
because I guess someone was telling me you have to start all over again.
No, yeah. you can complete your dose. Now, I was going to say that so long the duration, it's not more than 6 months.
Okay.
When you took the last dose.
Okay.
But if you took a dose a year apart, then of course you need to start all over again and complete it.
Is that okay? Okay, I guess that's okay for her then. Let me take a message before we come back to the telephone line. Lekon from Lagos Island says, Doc, please, I want to ask, does cervical cancer result in swelling of a woman's stomach?
Yes, it can. At the late stages, when you have it metastatic stages, it can result in the swelling of a woman's stomach. But cervical cancer itself will not present with an abdominal swelling.
Oh, okay.
It would not present that. I mean, when you have GIT cancers, for example, something coming from the liver, can present with a slight swelling, when you look at somebody's stomach. But really, cancers would not present an individual to be that dysmorphic. When I say dysmorphic, you're seeing somebody and you're saying that there's something wrong with the physical body shape and structure of this person. Cancer usually doesn't. But when it does that, that means that person's cancer is at the very late stage.
All right. I'm going to take this call before I go back to WhatsApp. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, please. Good morning.
Please, sir, I want to know if a child takes this vaccine, will it prevent the cancer?
If a child takes the vaccine before her sexual activity, yes, it can prevent the cancer.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for calling then. Let's take another call. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Good morning to our doctor. Yeah, this is
morning,
Pastor Ladiko. Please, I want to know food, the kind of food we eat, can it also cause that cancer?
Cervical cancer.
Thank you.
All right.
For cervical cancer, food is not part of its risk. Feeding is not. I mean, whatever kind of food you eat, it's a viral organism, human papilloma virus, of a strain 16 and 18. Usually, that's responsible for almost over 90% of the infection. So it's the exposure and the infection of this viral agent that causes cervical cancer.
Right.
And when you have a situation where the person is infected again and again and again and again, now it destroys the epithelium, it destroys that region of the body, and makes the person begin to present with symptoms of cervical cancer. However, some kinds of food are related with other types of cancers. But since we're discussing cervical cancer this morning, I think we just limit ourselves to it. And the answer to your question is that food is not related to cervical cancer.
When we're discussing in February, we'll talk about, that's generally cancer month. So we'll talk about, those areas of food, nutrition, lifestyle, and all those things. We'll talk about that. 8:45, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Anonymous, please.
That's fine.
Please, can family planning affect this?
Can family planning cause it or what?
Can it cause it and can it affect it?
Can it affect it? Affect it in what way? Maybe you...
The cervical cancer.
Cervical cancer.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
NOMA. Family planning is not being found to be one of the risk factors associated with cervical cancer.
Okay,
it is exposed.
Thank you. Can someone take it after menopause? Can someone still continue to take the injection after menopause?
After menopause.
I didn't get that.
Can someone get vaccinated after menopause?
Yes.
Of menstruation.
Yes, you can. You can get vaccinated after menopause.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too for calling. Let's take another call. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Siwa. I'm calling from traffic in Ikeja.
Welcome from traffic.
Sorry?
Welcome. Please go on.
Oh, okay, thank you. So I took the vaccine about 5 years ago, 3 doses. And I remember that after talking with my medical practitioner, they tried to enlighten me that cervical cancer comes with a lot of strains, more than 8 strains, if I recall. And the vaccine covers only about half of that. Could you throw more light on that, please? Thank you.
Okay.
Cervical cancer has actually over 20 strains.
Oh.
Right. Yeah, there are some strains but the strains that are responsible for HPV. I'm sorry, I take that back. HPV has over 20 strains. But the strain that is responsible for cervical cancer is about 2, 16 and 18 is what's responsible for cervical cancer. Okay. Now, the Cervarix vaccine covers 16 and 18, which is available in most third world nations. Now, we have the Gardasil vaccine that has 6, 11, 16 and 18.
4.
That has 4. Now, there's the Gardasil 9 that has 5 other, that covers 5 other strains.
Making it 9 or separately 5?
Making it 9.
Okay.
There's a Gardasil that is 4. There's the Gardasil 9 that is 9. Covers 9 strains.
9 strains of HPV.
Right? But the one that is responsible for 90%. In fact, the literature says 99.7% of cervical cancer is 16 and 18, which the Cervarix vaccine adequately covers.
Okay.
So if you take the Cervarix vaccine, then you're sufficiently covered.
But you still have to take 3 doses.
Yeah, you still have to take 3 doses.
All right. Let's take another call. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah. My name is Florence.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Doctor, you made mention of children from ages of 9 to 12 to take the vaccination.
Yes,
What of children between the ages of 13 to 19 or 20 who are not sexually active? Can they take it?
Yes, they can take it. I was just talking about the age, the start age.
The earliest you can start.
The earliest age with which you can start taking the vaccine. So far, a child is not sexually active, please
Yeah.
go and get the vaccine for the child.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for calling. Let's take this one here then. Let's see who is here. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, miss. Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Sorry? Yes, you can be anonymous, yes.
Please, I am in the loop now.
You are where?
The loop.
At Luth. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
To get a job for my baby.
Okay.
So during this time, it has always been, it was giving birth to at least a year plus now. And she has this, she can't go to discover the sex of the. Hello?
Make it quick, please. We're listening to you.
So now, they recommended a drug for her,
Okay.
hydrocortisone.
Okay.
Hydrocortisone that she's taking. But still, she have this, because I don't know, because I am AS, my wife is AS. So we have been on this for long, and I don't know whether cancer is part of it.
Whether cancer is part of it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I want to please, I want to
stay on the line, please. Stay on the line. Dr. Ajay, do you understand what he's saying?
I get that he's AS, the wife is AS, the
Yeah.
daughter is ill. What exactly is wrong with your daughter, sir?
Because during her childbirth, they discovered that her body, she has like two organs, just like a male and female.
Okay.
Oh,
So when we now go out to check, we run a series of checks to discover that she's a female. Said they have womb and all of that. So now, the doctor now do some, many scans. So now that she will be taking hydrocortisone, that she's going to remain on that almost through her life.
Okay.
So
Is that some hormonal stuff? Okay. All right.
Okay, well, I don't have a full picture of what you're talking about, but it seems to me that your daughter may most likely have some endocrinology issues.
Okay.
Things that have to do with hormones and have to will have to decide, or in simplest terms, whether she functions as a male or female. Now, I know there are endocrinologists who are in Luth, specialist doctors who are in Luth that can adequately take care of her.
Right.
I would advise that you should please follow strictly the instructions of the managing physician of your daughter.
Right.
And I'm sure she's going to be fine. I wish her quick recovery, and my heart is with her.
Right. Dr. Ajay, anytime I'm with you, time flies by very, very quickly. We're supposed to talk treatment, please. Can we do that I know it's impossible, but make it possible in 1 minute.
Yeah, treatment is possible. Treatment for cervical cancer is, we can do treatment for cervical cancer. Now, I'll just discuss it in early stage treatment, during the cancer stage, and the treatment for your cervical cancer. And that is usually surgery. Right, so you are gynecologist. There is gynecological issues. Usually, we refer them to gynecologist, and they can either remove the whole womb, all right, or you do a process called the trachelectomy. Remove that aspect of the women reproductive tract that houses where the organism will grow from. So that is possible by way of surgery. Now, at early presentation, we can have radiotherapy. Radiotherapy is done with chemoradiation. We can have that for early stage.
Okay.
And we have clients who are 3 years post-treatment, 5 years post-treatment that we're monitoring, that still come for follow-up, that we still review. So it's not a death sentence, as it were. However, at the late stages, which is at the metastatic stage, we can still do some what we call palliative care for such patients that have distant metastases to neighboring organs and even at close distant organs. So treatment is still possible. Yeah, but at the late stages, we may not be talking about cure. We may just be talking about palliation of symptoms and management of a patient.
Dr. Ajay Eben Adepitan, consultant oncologist, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I need to bring you more here, so we talk more on some other aspects of cancer and cancer care. But for today, I think we've done exceedingly well in treating this issue and educating our people. Thank you again for coming, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Sheriff Quadry on social media. I'll see you tomorrow at 5. Good morning to you.
More talk, news, and sports after this.